Welcome back to The Price of Business. Your guest host today, Bill Knapik, sitting in for Kevin Price. And now we have Chris Corso with the Corso Law Group. Chris, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be talking to you, Bill.
It's very exciting indeed. Chris, if someone said the words to you, Apple, FBI, at this point in time, what are the things that come to your mind at this point?
Disgust.
Apple and FBI. Boy, what a combination, right?
I'll tell you what. This is, this brings to light. Kevin and I are always talking about civil liberties and different things, and this topic really brings it to light. I'm taken back by this. I really am, and not a lot does that to me. So.
Well, it's very interesting, and this all started, if I understand the timeline, this was back December 2nd, 2015. This whole incident took place, and here comes an iPhone that everybody has is there. It comes to the public attention.
Yeah, it does, and now you get a judge in California that orders Apple to help the FBI unlock a phone, and now we start talking about the technology and what they're able to do and not do, and the ability to be able to get into anybody's phone and unlock cryptic messages and things like that. So it's this is a pretty important decision and situation that's happening right now, don't you think?
Indeed, it is. And from an attorney like yourself, a point of view that you have, what are the effects? I mean, the first thing I thought about, one of the things, is that I didn't know that the phone, the iPhone, and I have two iPhones, I didn't know that they were that hard to get into, and I didn't know that the FBI couldn't already get into them without asking Apple for help.
Well, I mean, my understanding of it, not to, like the technology and, me, but my understanding is, it's a private company. So, what they create, it's independent, so it's not a government agency or anything like that. So yeah, I mean it's locked. There's all different types of safeguards for the people, and so no, they're not automatically able to get in. I had a case like this as a prosecutor years ago, where the government had to use some anti-terrorism devices to find the defendants that did this anyway. So this is no, it's not something that Apple's required to do. And, you're asking me from a legal standpoint what I think. I think the future is concerning, because if the government, if the judge allows this and the government can go to Apple or any other company anytime they feel like, where does it stop? Where's the line?
That's a good point. And where does it stop? And what should people, a regular citizen that carries an Apple iPhone or any other kind of phone, what should we be thinking about out there, or what can we do to protect our rights?
Well, at this point, you have to hope that it doesn't go that route. Because at some point everyone says, yeah, I want the situation resolved. I want them to find the person who did it, but I have a phone. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder, and that's what seems to be happening every single day in this country, more and more and more. Government's taking over, getting involved, and so what can we do? I don't know. I don't think there's much we can do other than get rid of the phone, which nobody's going to do. So it's, just lobby against it and speak up.
And vote when we can. Also, one of the things that's referenced in the Wall Street Journal article yesterday, the 1789 All Writs Act. And the judge said in that he said that the current lawmaker should make the decision. This is where it says the headlines, judge sides with Apple in drug case, that the current lawmaker should make the decisions and not old laws. And I'm paraphrasing now, something like that. I don't know if you saw that, but I thought that was interesting for a judge to put forth right now about the case.
Well, I think because it's a new type topic. It's when that's a problem. When you try to go back and you try to use law that's years and years old, it's the same argument that goes back to the Constitution and common law. What are we using here? We want to make sure that what we're creating today, equals out of what's today. Apples to apples. So, pun intended. Yeah. But that's I think what they're trying to get at is say, hey, look, let's come up with a law that's for today. That's not dated, so to speak.
And obviously, in 1789, there were no Apple phones or any other kind of phones, but we are governed and you're an attorney, you see this every day. We are governed by laws that have been put forth hundreds of years ago. So that, I guess, how does that make your practice, and how do you view your practice being based on the laws, and how's that interpretation? What goes through an attorney's mind, I guess I'm trying to say?
Well, for what I do, I mean, I'm a criminal attorney, and so a lot of what I'm doing is not a lot of change. I mean, an assault's an assault, an assault. I mean, that's not a lot is going to change on those kind of things. Where what I think of as an attorney, generally speaking, is when you have things like this, as technology grows and time passes, it passes by the law. So, I'm concerned as an attorney because I want things current. I want things to date also. So while there are certain things as a lawyer and different types of practice that you can go back and you can use the law that's been on the books for a long time because some of those topics may not change or the elements and so on, with this kind of a situation, it's ever-changing. Mm-hmm. And as you say, you didn't have that back then. So you want to make sure it's current. You want it up to date. As a lawyer, that's what we want.
And, of course, it goes to that question, does the government have the authority to order Apple to help unlock the phone? And it is even said that they have to create technology on an operating system to open the phone up. So it sounds very complex.
It is, because they don't have the authority right now, and that's why this is all happening. And, if you believe what Apple is saying, that they have to come up with something, doesn't this sort of remind you of anything? I mean, think about that. We want an outside agency to create some kind of device that allows us to infiltrate something else. I mean, you can rewind this back and through history, through wars and things like that, and you see the same. Want to see the same situation? It's a scary thing. Only in the past you see it in different countries, not here.
Exactly.
So that's a little scary to me. A lot, actually.
Well, and also as a criminal attorney, Chris, you along the way you're defending people and stuff. The phone is something that is with everybody all the time, and we know that we're always looking at our phones. But in criminal cases that you try, does the phone become part of evidence? Does that become part of the case, or how do you handle it, or do you even see that?
It depends on the type of case. For example, a drug case, they would call certain types of indicia of crime. So you call it with drugs. They feel the phone is part of that, so they confiscate it. I had a case, and not to take too long because I know we're up against it, but I had a case when I was a prosecutor, maybe 10, 12 years ago. That it was a serious case, kidnapping case in Arizona, and it involved trying to find the people who did this, and they had to use a device that was only used for the federal government, anti-terrorism, to locate the cell phone, which is how we found the people. I had to dismiss that case. I had to talk to the people in Washington, marshals and things like that, because what they were using was not able to be turned over to the defense. Nobody could see that, top secret, so to speak. And so that case had to be dismissed. So there you go. I mean, there's an example of how cell phones need to be used to find people in my world. But the problem is some of this technology can't be turned over.
There are some things, that's right, they just can't be. Another thing that I found interesting about this is it says the court's ordering Apple to bypass or disable a feature, and I didn't know that after 10 attempts that the phone is going to be wiped clean, that something in the Apple technology that I think it says it's requiring Apple to decrypt the password that blocks access by outsiders. But it sounds like if we can't get into our phone 10 times, it gets wiped clean. That's disturbing to me as well.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I guess they're calling that a brute force attack.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly, brute force. Absolutely is fat. Where do you see this going, Chris? I mean, if you were to predict as this thing winds, what are the next things that we should look for as far as announcements about this case? Or if you were predicting, what would you predict?
I don't think this is going to end anytime soon. I mean, I think this is just going to keep traveling through the courts up to every level, because it's not something Apple or any other company, for that matter, because this isn't just about the tech Apple. This is now about all different types of companies that create different things that people you consume. And so I think the government, I don't know. I just think they're going to have a tough time, I think, the way this country should be set up to allow, force other companies to basically work for the government at this point. And I just see this being a long, dragged out fight. I do.
It sounds like the OJ trial in a way, speaking a long drug out, right? We're talking today with Chris Corso with the Corso Law Group. Chris, what are some of the other things before we wind up here? We got about a minute or so. What are some of the other things about this case that you think people should know about that has triggered your imagination or ideas?
Well, the first thing I think of is the invasion, into your life. I think people need to be, in my opinion, people need to be aware that everything you do, the government and different companies, everybody's trying to get a thumb on you. So all these things that we have, these phones and these tablets and whatever else we're using and on the watches now, everything's designed for ease, but it's all designed to keep our thumb on, to keep your thumb on, know where we are, what we're doing, location, services. To me, those are the things that trigger in my mind about what we should want as a society, what should we be comfortable with. I mean, if we're comfortable with people looking over our shoulder at all times and being able to get into our life and world, well then, this should just continue to happen. But in my opinion, that's a scary proposition.
Welcome to the future. The future is here. And in fact, that's not to mention, we're talking about phones, computers, and technology. But I was thinking about this the other day. Everywhere we go, there are cameras. They're in elevators. They're on the street. So truly, we are tracked, should we care or not, but we are tracked all the time. Everybody is.
Yeah, it's scary. When are we going to start having implants and chips put in to really track us?
Yes.
I mean, that's what's scary about it.
Well, Chris, would you tell people how they can reach you at the Corso Law Group?
Yeah, you can reach us on our website at corsolawgroup.com. And, we handle criminal cases and Arizona firm, Texas firm. We're always out to represent the person, not just the client. So.
Very nice. Thank you. So nice to talk to you, Mr. Chris Corso. You're listening to The Price of Business. Sitting in for Kevin Price, I am Bill Knapik. The show will continue right after this. Stay tuned. We have much more.